Welcome to The Entrepreneur Life with attorney and author Rocco Cozza, along with realtor and podcaster Eric McKenna. Content and sponsorship are being provided by Rocco Cozza and Eric McKenna. Now, let's join our show host for today's program on Beaver County Radio.
Hey friends, it's Eric McKenna, and welcome to The Entrepreneur Life. I'm joined by my very good friend and astute business attorney, speaker, and man of all kinds of hats, Mr. Rocco Cozza. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, man. It's going to be fun.
It's exciting. It's exciting to be here, and of course, we're going to be joined every week by my good friend and producer extraordinaire from a prior life on this wonderful station, Mr. Matt Durzik. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm doing good.
Good to see you over there.
Good to see you.
Feels like old times here.
Yeah, but new times as well.
Good times, bad times. It was the best of times. It was the best of times.
Exactly.
It's good to be with everybody here in Beaver County, and good to be back on Beaver County Radio. My last show on this station was in December of 19, if you can believe that, before the world kind of went crazy a couple months later.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't either. Yeah. We're going to get into all that stuff. But the point of this exercise, ladies and gentlemen, is Rocco and I are going to be taking on the subject of entrepreneurship. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah. It's
small business, motivation. For those people who have thought about maybe possibly entering entrepreneurship, starting your own business, going your own way. And I think a lot of people kind of are doing that now after the pandemic. We just want to talk about the subject and take phone calls and interact and maybe talk about all that goes on with running a small business. I'm honored because Rocco, my background with real estate is a heck of a compliment for Rocco's entrepreneurial background as well. Business attorney, speaker, and we can get into all those different things. But I want to formally thank you for coming and doing this project with me.
No, man, I love the podcast we've been doing for the past, we started them, I think, in like I said, July of 2019. So
Absolutely.
We've done at least probably 12 or 15 episodes, and we always have great conversations. So when this opportunity arose, I jumped on it, man. This is going to be fun. I enjoy the conversations. I think, with entrepreneurship, there's so much to offer. I think from your perspective, from my perspective, right, as a business lawyer, I see all kinds of businesses. But I think the other thing we need to share with people is it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
It's not?
It's a struggle every day.
What did you get me involved with?
Right. But I think you see a lot of stuff online. You see people sharing things about how great it is to be an entrepreneur. And look, I love it. I wouldn't do anything else. But it's also one of the hardest things you'll do. And I think that's an important piece to discuss. And we'll get into all of this stuff, which I'm excited about.
Oh, absolutely. And it's going to be a great format. The return to radio was something that I was always itching to do, probably 5 to 7 months after I concluded the Eric McKenna show here on WBVP. I missed it. The podcast, the Eric McKenna Project, and all of that has been fantastic. A great addition to my life and in general, and it's how we actually met.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through the podcast. However, radio is that exciting tangible that once it gets in your blood, it just gets in your blood. And I think that bringing the topic of entrepreneurship and small business and the decision-making process maybe that goes along with making the big life decision to, maybe go from an employee to starting your own business.
Yeah.
It's something that I think is an interesting topic, and often you don't hear a lot about that. You hear topics once you make the decision to do it,
right?
But the decision to deciding whether entrepreneurship is right for me and how that goes about, things to consider. There's always really healthy topic subjects.
Well, yeah, I wrestled with that decision for years when I was in corporate America before I left to really engage in my own practice of law full time. That was. I wish I would have done it 5 years sooner, but I was using that corporate job as my hedge, and I wasn't willing to take that full risk yet. And I remember, when I did it, it was just like jumping off a cliff. But looking back, it was the most unbelievable experience, and it still is every single day. I absolutely love what I do, but wrestling with that decision and trying to come to terms with what it was going to take and what my life was going to be like after leaving the security of having a salary, benefits, being able to travel the world on someone else's dime,
right,
that was a real struggle wrestling with it. And I just came home one day and said I'm resigning, and that was it. And it was just,
Well,
let me figure this out.
let's unpack this a little bit for our audience.
Of course.
And I'm going to put Rocco on the spot, of course.
Always.
You're used to it, right?
Yeah.
Let's give the audience some of your background.
Okay.
Let's start with you, and then we can turn it over to me. But they probably, for those that have listened to my story prior, it might be redundant. But let's talk about your journey into entrepreneurship, but even before that, and how you made the decision to get into law, and the type of law that you practice.
Yeah. So when I grew up in Newcastle, PA, so close to the area, always as a kid, I liked business. I kind of had this business bent to me, but I also liked logic and argument. So that's kind of what drove me into going to law school. I went to college, had a psychology degree, went to law school, but I knew when I graduated law school that being a lawyer was a means to an end to me. Like, I didn't want to work at a big firm my whole life and just kind of get stuck in that partner track and just work for someone else. I had this entrepreneur mentality. So, I mean, I graduated law school in 2003. I bought my first rental properties a few months after that and kind of just got into a bunch of different businesses. Worked at a big firm for a year after law school. Then I went in-house and worked at a technology company, ran the legal department, got to travel the world.
But still technically an employee of
I was
that
still an
company.
employee. Yeah, I was doing other things on the side. I had other entrepreneur ventures, real estate, some other companies I was involved with. But my my profession is law, right? So I'm a business lawyer. So I was in-house for 14 years. Did not think I would be at that company that long. When I took that job, I said, this is like a 3 to 5 year thing. 14 years later, I love the people. I got to do cool stuff. But then things started to change in that company. When I joined, we were a public company. We went private. We went through a bunch of management changes. It was right before I left, we were getting acquired. We were acquired by a private equity firm. Then a foreign company was buying us. They made a bunch of management changes. I was kind of one of the last executives left. And it just didn't feel right. Like, it didn't feel right. I had already started a part-time practice of law on the side where I was, helping other entrepreneurs, helping real estate investors. And then one day I came home and told my wife, so I am married and have 3 amazing kids, and we'll get to that, but I just said I'm resigning. And she looked at me and said,
Just like that.
Just like that. And she had no question about it. She's like, I knew that was coming. And new CFO came into town the following week, and I walked in and resigned. And I thought it was going to be this big climatic experience like you see in the movies, right? Like, I felt nothing. It's just, okay, resigned, gave them 2 weeks notice, and that was probably like the first quarter of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, resigned. We were going on a family vacation. We went on vacation. I came back, and I'm like, I got to figure this out. So I didn't know what I wanted to do then. I was speaking. I was involved in like business consulting, some coaching, had a couple other ventures, and I was practicing law kind of part-time. Couldn't get my legs under me. Then in 2019, I said, you know what? I'm just going to commit to the law. Like, I love the practice of law. I love being a business lawyer. I help creating businesses. I love helping people solve problems. That's really what I do. 2019, I just, put my head down and said, I'm going to put my foot on the gas. And it started with just me. And now there's, 6 employees, and we have a growing firm in the Pittsburgh area. And, looking back, I've learned so much. I've had to grow so much as a person. But the journey of entrepreneurship, it's by far the most difficult thing I've done, but also the most rewarding because I've changed completely. Like, I'm a different man than I was 5 years ago, just through all the struggles. Like, now I have people I'm responsible for. My employees come first. Like, I have to make sure they're taken care of before me. I have a wife and I have 3 kids, and it's just a different level of responsibility. And I love it. I love it.
And that is, I think, the crux of why we're doing this show. It really is to take a critical examination of all that goes on,
Mm-hmm.
what you can expect,
Yeah.
some potential challenges and surprises, what it takes inside, the disciplines,
Mm-hmm.
just answering questions. And again, by no stretch of the imagination are we going to have all the answers, but we are going to bounce the questions around, and the questions that we would suggest that folks ask of themselves, the disciplines required, and just the ins and outs of the journey, to lay it out there, have discussions, because I know there's a lot of people, especially coming out of the quote-unquote pandemic, that have reassessed their life. We hear that every day. And I think some of the reassessment is, what am I doing with my life? I think I just saw on the news that there's a record amount of people that have just quit their job.
Yeah, what are they calling it? The Great Resignation right now.
And I think that it's a little puzzling to me, but I think that can on essence be great if they're questioning themselves and getting more fulfillment out of life and maybe moving towards something they want to do. And I would think some of those folks are probably thinking about entrepreneurship.
Sure.
I think our timing on this is good. And really it's about unpacking it all, breaking it all down and saying, hey, if you really want to do this, based on our experience and what we know and the friends that we have in our sphere, here's are some of the challenges you're going to face and some of the ways to maybe overcome them. And I think that is the crux of the idea. And my journey is very similar to Rocco's. Roughly about the same time, I started a guitar company, left corporate America back in 1999. Did Boogie Street Guitars for 15 years. Had an amazing journey, but with lots of challenges and lots of bad decisions, along with some good ones we can talk about. Became a realtor in the 2013, and really haven't looked back. Just love what I do, but that independence, that ability to understand that my life, my survival, my financial survival is completely dependent upon my own efforts and my ability to treat people well. And it's kind of a feeling that you just, once you get it and you have a little taste of it and you have a little bit of success, it's hard to go back to any kind of corporate structure.
No,
it's exciting. It's exciting.
Way.
And I think that those who are looking at entrepreneurship are probably looking at that quote unquote freedom and everything that comes with that as very enticing. But we just want to walk it back a little bit and help you unpack it and understand that it also comes with some challenges as well. How are we going to work on brakes on here, my friend? Are we kind of running up against them? Because
right now.
I have to relearn this whole mechanics, this radio mechanics thing. So
you have one at 10 of.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So this is fantastic. Yeah. Okay, but I do want to mention to the audience that this is definitely a participatory show.
Yeah,
it's a big word like gymnasium. Participatory. And I think the structure that Rocco and I are going to walk in with is probably going to change and evolve over periods of time. But we're initially going to try to take some phone calls in the second hour. We're going to be with you from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. On Saturdays. So we're going to try to take some phone calls in the second hour. And again, I'd like to say this is a show about entrepreneurship, and it is, but, it's me, friends. There will always be a little bit of a variety show bent to what we're doing here. This is Matt's probably shaking his head over there.
I was like, you don't say.
I just had to agree to this madness once again, but
we're going to have fun. That's all that matters.
And I loved my prior stint here on WBVP, but I'm even more excited now. I got to retain Matt Dursig as our producer, but I have my good friend Rocco Cozza, who can add a whole different dynamic to the conversation. And I do certainly want to pick his brain. Rocco is probably not the kind that's going to tell you all this up front, but I will share with you, friends. He has given a TEDx talk. This guy has given speeches, and he's done a lot of public speaking in his day. He's written a book, which we're going to get into as well. He's done countless podcasts and talk shows, including, I'm humbled to have him on my podcast multiple times. So he's got a heck of a resume. Matter of fact, I'm wondering why I'm even sitting in the same room with him.
Hey, man, I just said before, I'm your side piece. I'm your side piece on the show.
But we're going to have a lot of fun. And I just think that sharing this kind of information on small business and entrepreneurship is valuable. And I think there are a lot of people out there, I know because I talk to a lot of people in the work that I do, that have questions about, should I take that leap? I have an idea.
Well, to your point, though, I
take a leap.
Well, I think the big thing people have to understand. I actually had this conversation with someone yesterday. Like that, going into entrepreneurship is a completely different mindset, and not everybody's cut out for it. And that's like, I want to be very clear with people. Like it's okay if it's not for you, because there are employees for a reason, right? We have employees because some people are they want that stability of being employed, knowing what they have to do every day, leaving and being able to put it away. Entrepreneurship is 24/7. Like there's no such thing as work-life balance I don't believe as an entrepreneur. I mean, we've talked about this before. I always say I'm never balanced. Like my life is never balanced. It is my job to understand the guardrails. When I'm too far working too much or too far relaxing too much, I need to stay within those guardrails. It's a constant struggle.
Yeah.
I've never in my 20
Which you're going
years,
to fail at often.
all the time,
Yes.
all the time. I mean, I know that there are, like, this week, end of the quarter, it was a crazy week. Like, I was exhausted. I was running on fumes. But then last night I got to take my daughter to softball and we had fun, and I got to watch her hit. And then we went and had dinner afterwards with Mia, who works with me, and her husband, who's my daughter's coach. And just having that family time was nice. But it's a balance, right? It is the hardest thing to do as an entrepreneur, being able to balance what needs to be done, what you want to do, what you have to do for yourself. It's a struggle. And that's why when I talk to people, a lot of clients that come in about starting businesses, one of the first things is, do you understand what it takes, that mindset and that shift of your life? Because it's a complete shift.
Yeah, and it's not something you're going to learn in college.
No.
And that's like one of those life events that are really not taught specifically in school. I mean, you can learn the ins and outs of finance, the ins and outs of accounting, the ins and outs of all the different rudimentary things to running a business. However, that intangible that comes with running your own business, and whether it's it's stress, anxiety, as well as freedom, and joy, and all those things, you don't learn that. It has to be experienced, and the only way you're going to learn about it is hearing other people's stories.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring other people on this this radio show, mixing all kinds of things. It is kind of like a podcast vibe in here, right?
It feels like you're
somewhat,
just for standing.
Somewhat, for sure. But we're going to bring guests, successful entrepreneurs from different fields to share their journey as well. Yeah. And you and I will be able to ask pointed questions of them. And we want to know. We want to hear. We want to know about the challenges. To our calls, to those who are going to participate in the show, we want to hear the questions. We can't guarantee we're going to have the answer, but we're certainly going to do our best to share common experiences. And in the end, really, isn't that what it's all about? Just sharing common experiences.
Yeah, and absolutely. And as we were talking on the drive up, I am a business lawyer, so
Let's set some ground rules too.
Yes, let's set
so
the
Rocco
ground rules.
practices law, but he is a business, and he won't say this, but he's also an entertainment attorney. He's got clients that are in the entertainment business as well. But he's a business attorney, so you don't do like small claims and litigation.
Our firm does commercial litigation for our business clients, but I don't do family law. I don't do criminal law. We really don't do personal injury law. We do estate planning, but for mostly our business. We do it, but it's usually geared towards asset protection or business owner clients. Right. So, because people have this misconception, and
so if the dog keeps coming into your yard and you want to sue,
I will tell you to call a lawyer.
Yeah, definitely. He'll give you advice and point you in the right direction, but he really can't. We really are probably not going to address that concern because there are attorneys that specialize in that.
Yeah,
stuff.
I never want people to feel like I'm being dismissive in any way,
not
shape,
at all.
or form. It's
not
really just there are, and I always use doctors as an example because for some reason people understand the medical profession. They think if you're a lawyer you can do everything, but if you're a doctor you only specialize. So doctors have cardiologists, neurosurgeons. Like that's kind of how lawyers are. Right? I'm a business lawyer, so I always use when clients come in about starting a business and they may have went to their friend that does a little bit of everything. So that's kind of going to the family practitioner. Right. If you find out you have a heart problem, you go to the cardiologist to get it fixed. Hey, you want to get a business started and someone gives you some guidance, you come to us to do it right. Like I'm a very stay in my lane.
Yeah, so it's
type
specific.
Yes.
I'm a specific.
But I will provide as much guidance as I possibly can.
Oh, and again, questions about how to start your own business and things, all the ins and outs. We can get into some of the mechanics as this show progresses. Of course. And all those questions will be available, but not to be too esoteric, but we really want the show to be about big picture ideas, fears, apprehension, the concept of freedom within running your own business. Is it right for me? Discipline, having the right kinds of discipline. And this is a lot of material which will give us plenty to share.
Let me ask you a question. So as an entrepreneur and a real estate agent, right, and doing all this other stuff, like moving your studio, building a podcast, now doing this.
Yes.
What is your biggest struggle when it comes to discipline? 'Cause I think every entrepreneur has struggles when it comes to the discipline we have to maintain. What is your biggest struggle?
I don't know if I call it a struggle anymore. After you've done it for so long, it was a struggle in the beginning, but I was under the delusion that you could have it all because I was coming from a family of entrepreneurs who said you could have it all, you can do it all, you can do this and that, and you can have everything in life. And no one ever really came and sat me down and said, listen, to do things effectively and be successful, you really can't have it all. You can have a lot,
Sure.
but if you want to do things well and you want to treat people well and be in a good mood and treat your loved ones well, understand that not everything you try is going to be successful, and you can't be everything to everybody. So those are big picture lessons that I had to learn, and I still have my moments of struggle where I try to take on too much. But ultimately, once I got a good grip on that, a decade or so ago, things started to blossom for me because I just couldn't be everything for everybody.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to look at your own state of mind. Am I being true to myself? Am I being who I really am, or am I trying to put myself out there as what I perceive other people want me to be?
Yeah.
And we'll get into all that stuff. But
yeah,
I think I'm talked out for this first segment. This is great. I'm starting to feel the vibe again.
Yes.
The WBV
Getting your
and
sea legs
WNBA
back.
vibe. My sea legs. I'm bouncing around over here. This is good stuff. As all, I hear some music coming in. It's really starting to feel like radio again.
This is it, man.
All right, I'm here. This is Eric McKenna. I'm with Rocco Cozza and, of course, the dynamic Matt Durzik, and we will be right back. All right, we're back. Eric McKenna with Rocco Cozza, The Entrepreneur Life. This is episode 1.
It is
our initial broadcast.
the inaugural broadcast.
That's right. Producer Matt Durzik with us. So glad Matt agreed to sign on to do this show. I want to thank you formally on air for doing this.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, you definitely. It was one. It was one of the conditions.
It was a
that
condition
we
of
agreed
the contract.
To. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So
I've heard wonderful things about you, so I'm excited to work with you.
He kept me legal on the air. That probably was
That is my
Understatement.
job.
Yeah.
understatement in its own right, for sure. But again, this is the Entrepreneur Life. We're going to discuss all involved with entrepreneur, tackle some big concepts as we move through the weeks and shows. And Rocco, one thing that we always talk about, we got a couple of minutes here before the top of the hour. I wanted just to talk about just briefly discipline.
Mhm.
And we could spend shows on that concept,
Sure.
right? Because you mentioned to me what my biggest challenges were when I became an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
At what point when you decided
Mhm.
to, well, I'll just say when you decided in 2018 that it was time to do your own gig, were your habits and disciplines already formed because of the way you ran your law practice, or were there additional disciplines that you had to hone or refine once you became your own law practice?
That's a great question. I mean, I had certain fundamental disciplines I always followed in my life. It's just certain things I did every day. But as the practice has grown, that's an evolving process, right? My disciplines are changing and evolving all the time as we get, when it was just me and then Mia, who was, my first assistant, we did things a certain way. I had certain disciplines. Now that we have a team of people, I have new disciplines I had to put into place.
So they evolved.
Oh, absolutely, because things change, right? Your life changes,
You
your
don't
business
say.
changes, and you can't. What's that cliched saying, right? What got you here won't get you there. And I always look at that. I'm saying, okay, what got me to the point I am today is not going to get me to the next level. So I have to change my habits or build new habits or develop new disciplines. Like one of the struggles I have is I love doing the hard work, but the little things that need done, just the basic BS, like I don't like to do those and I procrastinate. But I know those are things I just need to get done every day. I have to build a better system. Like I have to manage my calendar better. There's just a lot of disciplines.
Oh, we're so going to get into this stuff. This is because procrastination.
Oh,
It's
it's
probably a
worst.
show in its own right.
Yes, it
Okay,
could be
but-
a month in its own life.
Yeah, no doubt. And but that whole concept of discipline, I would imagine if you're going to have a profession, which
Mhm.
is certainly an attorney, a doctor, that is a profession.
Sure.
And I would assume there are certain personal disciplines that are required to do that profession, whether you are technically an entrepreneur or you are an employee.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the reason I asked that question is that was the hardest thing for me
Mhm.
because what I was doing as a internet guitar salesman back in the 2000s, there really wasn't any kind of rule book for this, and it was the furthest thing from a profession, I
Yeah.
can tell you. So I was just a salesperson in corporate America, which probably not the most disciplined person in the world. So I struggled a lot with that.
Yeah.
So I'm always interested in hearing what the journey of discipline is for
Well,
entrepreneurs.
for lawyers, right? Like we have to have continuing legal education. So I'm licensed in PA, West Virginia, and New York. So I need to make sure I have my continuing as lawyers. We're required to educate ourselves every
Right.
year.
Realtors
That's
as
just
well.
Yeah, I mean, so you get it, and I procrastinate with that. I know in December I'm like, oh man,
I know that pain.
I need 12 credits in the next 30 days, and I'm taking all the classes
Yes.
that just are BS because I need the credits. So that is a struggle I have, and it's a struggle I will always have.
Absolutely, and it's the procrastination end of discipline is huge.
Mhm.
It's just that whole thing that if you have some discipline issues in your personal life or some procrastination issues in your personal life,
Mhm.
that's a strong consideration when you make the decision to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Those are things that might be worth addressing before you even make the decision,
Yes.
and to see if you even want to address those things.
To that point, you've got to be very self-aware. You've got to know to go into entrepreneurship. You've got to know yourself. Like I had to know there are certain things I'm just not good at doing. There are certain things I don't want to do, and just be okay with that and not try and pretend I'm going to do them or pretend I'm going to be something different. Just be very transparent with yourself, very self-aware, because if you try and tell yourself you will be different when you start your own business or you will be different when you become an entrepreneur, it doesn't happen. Certain fundamental habits and traits are ingrained in you when you get to that point. I know they were with me, so I knew that I need to find people to do this stuff. Like even stuff in life, right? I look at my time now, like how much is my time worth and how long is this going to take me? Can I pay somebody to do it? Like my son and his college friends put all my furniture together in my house now because I don't have the time to do it, and I can pay them, very minimal amount of money compared to the time it would take me. So it's understanding those things about yourself, your life, and really trying to put into perspective how that's going to operate as an entrepreneur. That's a struggle that everybody has, but you've got to do it or you'll never get anywhere.
Does the phrase "a man needs to know his limitations"?
Absolutely.
Is that
Yes.
applicable?
Yep, 100%. Yes.
Well, we are off to a roaring start here. Friends, you're listening to The Entrepreneur Life with business attorney and speaker Rocco Cozza. I'm your co-host, Eric McKenna. And of course, every week we'll have producer extraordinary Matt Durzik. You are listening to 95.7 FM and 99.3 FM, as well as 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA, presented by St. Barnabas and streaming live on Beaver County Radio. And we'll be right back.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 W.
All right, we're back. We're back. The Entrepreneur Life with Rocco Cozza and Eric McKenna. And I want to talk a little bit, Rocco, more about this discipline thing.
Sure.
It's that one word that I heard from my parents when I was younger, and it was like, man, I'm tired of hearing about this discipline thing. I don't want to be so regimented. But I'm a naturally spur of the moment, fly by the seat of my pants, kind of just oh, look, there's a shiny object
Yeah.
kind of guy,
Mhm.
right? That's just kind of who I am. So I had to learn disciplines as an adult
Mhm.
that I did not learn when I was younger. As a matter of fact, an adult in his mid to late 30s. And why that's an important concept is if you are generally not the most disciplined of persons,
Mhm.
entering into the entrepreneur journey is a challenge
Very, very much so.
and not impossible.
No.
I'm living proof that it can be done. You can learn things. You can teach an old dog new tricks. That can be done. But I want to talk about discipline. And I don't know if you could fully relate because you seem like you were always generally a pretty disciplined person. Is that accurate to a degree?
To an extent, yes. So there were certain discipline practices I've always
Did you
had.
learn those from your folks? Did you?
I honestly learned those in my 20s.
Okay.
You know, so
okay.
'cause I went to college, went to law school. I really didn't understand that. In law school, I was extremely disciplined. Right?
Okay.
Like, I knew I went in, so I took a year off between college and law school. Worked as a personal trainer, and I knew going into law school to, because I don't know if people are familiar with law school, right? If the top 20 of the class make what's called law review, those are the people that get the higher paying jobs. So I knew going into law school, I had to be in that top 20.
Okay.
And so I had to put a certain discipline in place. So I knew when I went into law school, I treated it like a job. I got there at 7 a.m., left at 6 o'clock every day, whether I had class or not, and just studied. I was the nerd that would go to the gym and bring my law books with me and be on the Stairmaster for an hour reading and highlighting law books. That's just what I did. And I had this system in place where I read everything 3 times.
So you were driven. You knew.
I was driven.
You knew
So
that's what you wanted.
But that's different than discipline, right? I was at that point.
It
I
is.
was driven because I knew I had to be in that top 20. I ended up, I think, number 12.
So it's
in
a
my
competitive
class.
thing.
It was competitive. That's
Okay.
what it was.
Okay.
When I got into my 20s and had my son and was trying to figure out how to operate in the world, I started reading books. And one of the first books I read was The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And we've talked about this before, but that one chapter in that book changed my life. The E plus R equals O.
And for the audience, that means?
It's the event plus a reaction equals the outcome.
Mhm.
And for some reason, that just, I have like a math-based brain. It just clicked for me. And in the premise of it, the 30,000-foot view is you can always control the outcome of a situation because you always control one of the variables, either the event or how you react to it. And for some reason, I'm like, okay, if I want something in life, I need to do things differently. And that's when I started developing discipline. It was never perfect. It's not perfect to this day, but that's when I started putting certain principles in my life in place, getting up early, doing things in the morning, putting certain amounts of effort into things. And then as I got into my 30s and now in my mid 40s, having a hard time turning 45.
Early
this year.
40s. We'll say early 40s.
Please, let's keep saying early 40s. Got a few more months for that. But it's an evolving process. But I was never fully a disciplined person. I was a competitive person.
Okay.
Which helped me develop certain disciplines. Now, to run a firm, I have to be very disciplined. I'm there on Saturdays and Sundays doing the things behind the scenes that just need to be done.
Right.
And that's just part of the discipline I've had to build into my life at this point in time. And that'll change a year from now and 2 years from now. But it's an evolving process. But
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you could imagine yourself as a more undisciplined person, and if you had then taken this step to leave corporate law and start your own practice, you can see where there could be some
It's been a train wreck.
could be some pains.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I still say I am a walking train wreck most days. Like if you come into my office, you'll see
functional train wreck.
Functional. I'm going to use that from now on. Thank you. But if you come into my office, you'll see that it's organized chaos. That's just how my brain works. Like if I had everything in its place and in perfect stacks, and my brain doesn't function that way. My schedule's pretty organized. I do the same thing every morning, the same thing every evening. I have my morning routine. I plan my next day the night before. During the day, it can be a train wreck, but I love it that way. Mm-hmm. That's that undisciplined piece of me that actually I think makes me better on a day-to-day basis.
Did you have to discover that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so take a step back. Discover it meaning what?
Well, you needed to be in the environment of owning your own
Yes.
business and having those levels of responsibility that were new to
Yes.
discover that you can operate in that chaos.
Yes, you're 100% right. So, one, I'm just a chaotic person in general. I feel like I've always just loved chaos. I mean, we've
I don't see you that way, but that's fascinating.
But they're because I like to fix things. I
Okay.
like a challenge. I like problems. So I always joke with myself and the business coach I work with that when things are going too well, I tend to like to throw a grenade in the room and just so I have something to pick up, like pieces to pick up and clean up. But as our firm has grown, I haven't had to do that because just it is chaos. Like we're growing like crazy and new things are coming in. So being in the environment I'm in now has actually helped me develop that skill set even more. Like I operate the best in chaos.
Mhm.
I can navigate very easily. I can manage different situations. I can think on my feet quick. Like that's a skill I just developed over time because I had to being in that environment.
So you wouldn't say that was a skill set that you actually brought into entrepreneurship?
Well, it's a good question. So I think
That's what I do.
Yeah. you know how to pick me apart. I appreciate that. I would say that I've always had the ability to navigate situations and think on my feet quickly and understand people very well. Being an entrepreneur and in the environment I'm in and dealing with all the different types of clients and businesses, I have refined that skill set even further. And that's what I think makes me good at what I do because I'm able to cut through the BS really quick. Like
Okay.
a lot of lawyers, overcomplicate things. To me, it's like I can usually see the issue within the first 30 seconds of talking to someone and just cut right to that. And let's not get into all the other stuff. We'll get there if we need to.
Now, is that an acquired skill?
Yeah, I believe so. Because it's an acquired skill because in law school, we're taught, one, to cover our butts, give them everything that could possibly happen. I've just always operated differently. I'm like, no, let's find the actual issue and solve it. And just operating that way, it's created that skill set in me and it's helped me really hone it because it's not, it's not an ingrained skill set that we have as lawyers, right? We're taught to overanalyze things, question everything, which I do, but I also don't weigh things down with overanalysis or going down roads we don't need to go down. I try and keep things very pointed and get right to the point. I can take a 30-minute and do it in 30-minute meeting and do it in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Because we get to the answer quickly.
Okay. So before we even go further in discipline, let's unwind it even further. Let's start out this first episode of the Entrepreneur Life. The first episode, let's propose the question. You have a corporate employee, let's say a person in their 20s.
Okay.
Let's just say married, small family, 2 kids. Typical, whatever the American statistics or data is for in their 20s, married, 2 children, corporate employee, middle management, let's say.
Okay.
Let's say you're just consulting them, and let's just say they throw this question to you, Rocco, thinking about starting my own venture. I have this idea. I'm thinking about starting this venture. What is the first or one of the first recommendations? I'll take you off the hook there. One of the first recommendations to that person in regards to asking themselves questions. Is it discipline? Is it looking at the financial component first? Is it attitude? Is it how you deal with fear? What would you have this person look inward and examine first?
Why they want to do it. That's the first question you have to ask.
The why.
The why. You have to understand that. Because look, if you don't know why you want to do something, you will not be successful. Like when I started this firm, like I knew my why was to create something different and to leave a legacy, into freedom is my definition of success. It's not about money.
Right.
It's not about fame. It's about the freedom to do what I want to do and live how I want to live. That was always my why. So when you understand that, your operating tempo is different. If you don't, because I've dealt with business owners that don't really know why they're doing something. They just feel like it's a good idea because their friends are entrepreneurs, and they always fail because there's not the why is the fuel that drives the car. Like if the business is the car, the fuel is the why. And if you don't understand that from the beginning, you will putter out quick.
Good point. So you hear this term bantered around a lot in corporate America, the mission statement. However, whatever you want to call that statement, that's a tremendous statement to get out in writing, to talk about and to vet out and to massage and to examine and to buy into when you begin to start your own personal journey.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you call it a mission statement, your why statement, whatever, but would you say that would be the core? That would be the first thing, to write it down as to what is the goal here?
It's not even about writing it down. It's just fundamentally inside
Believing
understanding why you want to do it, and believing that is the right reason to do it. Because again, a lot of people, I'll use franchises as an example, right? A lot of people want to start a franchise because they think it's something, but really you're just buying a job in most instances.
Like if you want to buy, let's say, a McDonald's.
Yeah, like that's a little bit different. So that's not a good example.
Okay.
So, okay. Sorry, man. But like there's smaller franchises where they're owner-operator franchises. And I ask people, they say, well, I want to start this franchise because I want to own my own business.
Like a Subway.
That could be one, yeah.
Okay.
So, but a lot of these businesses are owner-operators. So you're just...
So what does that mean?
That means you're actually in the business, operating the business. And so you're basically buying a job because you're paying a franchise fee. You're signing an agreement to do this for X amount of time and pay X amount of revenue share.
Okay.
But you actually have to be in the business and working it. And yeah, that's part of entrepreneurship. But the goal of an entrepreneur, like the goal of me, is to do less of the work and actually manage the business and develop more business.
And create
things, exactly. So a lot of people don't, and those types of people, just in that instance, a lot of them have a misunderstood why. They think something and they're not realizing what they're doing. So it's really kind of dissecting why they want to do something, and the thing they want to do, does that match up with it, right? Because the franchise is a great idea, or a great example, because a lot of people do. They say, I want freedom. I want to own the business. I want to be able to make more money. Okay, good reasons. I want to start this franchise. It's like, well, okay, but you understand what there's all these restrictions. You're basically
buying a structure.
You're buying a structure, and you're putting yourself into almost a corporate environment again.
Okay.
So sometimes I literally talk with clients and dissect that. It's not really giving them legal advice. It's just helping them navigate that thought process. And to me, that's extremely important, because once you make the decision of the road you're going to go down, there's no turning back. Once you're there, it's very hard to turn the car around and go a different direction.
Because of the time and money invested.
Exactly. And you've got to make sure that path is right. And sometimes people are misguided in that decision.
When you talk about the why,
yeah,
obviously the why is going to be different for every person.
Sure.
Right? I mean, you'll see some similarities with 10 people. You ask 10 people the why question. You'll see similarities, but every individual why is unique.
Yeah.
Give me examples of things that typically will go into that why bucket. That will help comprise that why belief.
Well, the three ones that I at least see or hear the most is freedom, right? That they want a different structure of their life, right? They want the freedom to make their own decisions and not have to answer to people, okay? 2 is building something for their family, like a legacy, something my kids can take over, something my kids could watch me do and be inspired by it, right? That's a good why, like building that family culture. And the third one is sometimes it's purely financial, and that's okay. Like that, I mean, if your why is like, I know in corporate America, I'm tapped out. Like that's what I felt when I was in corporate America. I was the general counsel of a technology company. I was tapped out. I wasn't going to go from making what I was making to 3X. The only way I could do that was doing it myself. So that, that was part of my reason for leaving. So that financial piece can be a big part of that why. Because people, and so those are really the 3 I see: freedom, family, and financial.
The reason I asked that question is that you may have a why that might not be related to anyone else. You may want to do it because, well, yeah, freedom's great, money's great, but I just can't stand being told what to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I can't stand, and it only takes the right motivation.
Yes.
And so sometimes I've been told I had a very successful entrepreneur tell me one time that his sole motivation that drove his why statement was he could not stand the boss he had.
Yeah.
And he goes, probably not the best reason to go entrepreneur, but my dislike for this person and the way they treated people spurred me into doing that.
Yeah.
So the why can have little moments.
Yeah,
in there,
absolutely.
Sure. But so the why statement, getting right with the reason you want to make this leap. And That's the sound for our next break. Friends, you're listening to The Entrepreneur Life, and you are listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, WBVP 1230, and WMBA 1460. Presented by St. Barnabas and streaming live on beavercountyradio.com. We'll be right back.
When Mary arrived for her second visit, she opened my door.
All right, friends, you're back on The Entrepreneur Life with business attorney, speaker, Rocco Cozza. I am also the co-host with Rocco. I am Eric McKenna, realtor and podcaster. And if my voice sounds a little bit familiar to the loyal WBVP audience, it's because I was on this fantastic station from 2016 through the end of 2019, and I had a talk show on Saturdays about the same time frame, the Eric McKenna Show. You folks were so good to me and my realtor practice and my lifestyle in general that I couldn't wait to get back on. And I'm so pleased to be joined by Rocco this time and talking about entrepreneurship. And I always get these words confused, Matt. I was never the greatest wordsmith anyways, but like there's this word called entrepreneurship. There's the word entrepreneur. Then there's this word called entrepreneurial.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm really not sure where those three are like used in sentences. I didn't pay attention in English class very much. Not the greatest when it comes to that stuff. So, if my old Cornell English teachers happen to be peeking in, which they might, it's a real parochial area up there. They might. They're probably laughing because I didn't pay attention in English. But how is those words used? Entrepreneurial. What do you use, Rocco? Is it entrepreneur, entrepreneurial? Entrepreneurship, is that a word?
I use all three.
Entrepreneurial, right?
That means you have a tendency
See,
right?
This is why I invited this guy on the show. This is the brains of the
Just for
operation
my
over
words.
here.
Just
Rocco
for my
Cozza.
words. I get it. No, I'm not the brains.
Okay,
Let's-
yeah, you are definitely the brains of the operation. No doubt about that.
I'm just here for you, man.
But yeah, thank you.
But
Someone has to be.
entrepreneurial, entrepreneur means you have tendencies to be an entrepreneur. Which
so
an entrepreneur is the person.
You have entrepreneurial tendency.
Yes.
Okay, so
That means you're a risk taker.
So
in my mind.
okay. So out there, my friends, those who are listening here or watching us stream live on on BeaverCountyRadio.com, thank you so much for giving a hoot. But the thing is, if you have tendencies that lean you toward wanting to start your own venture or be your quote unquote own boss, then you have entrepreneurial tendencies.
Yes. And
Okay, I learned something.
And you can have those in a corporate environment. They call those intrapreneurs.
Oh, back up.
So I'm
now
just
this
giving
may
you more
be,
words.
this might
These are
be
more
this may
words.
be headed over my pay grade.
Well, let's take it over your pay grade.
So what is this now?
So the term they use now of corporate or employees that have entrepreneurial tendencies, you can be what's called an intrapreneur, meaning an entrepreneur within a corporate environment.
Okay.
We don't have to go down that road. That was
Did
just
that
I'm just
term
giving
come out of
you
the
more
COVID
words.
era? It sounds like that might have come out of the COVID era.
No, it's been around for a while.
Okay.
There's quite a few books I've read that talk about that. And it's like a lot of these more forward-thinking tech companies have that. They encourage people within that company to try things. To like Google, for instance, I think they have a program where you can use so much time per week to work on projects like pet projects or things you want to try. That's kind of an entrepreneur model, right? You're allowing your employees, you're giving them the bandwidth and the backstop to take risks they otherwise wouldn't be able to as an employee.
Okay.
So those people that have those entrepreneurial tendencies tend to work at companies like that.
Got it. Now that makes sense. Now, see, I'm learning.
I will teach you words.
You are teaching me. You're expanding my vocabulary at 56 years old.
That's why I brought a notebook. We can write these words down so we can keep track of them.
Yeah,
over
Rock,
the year.
it was funny. Friends, I will share this with you.
Please.
So I pick up Rocco today to take our little jaunt down here, and he's got this notebook. First show, his radio debut.
Prepared.
He has a notebook. I don't know if there's anything in it.
There's nothing
I don't
in it.
even know if he has a pen.
I don't.
To be honest with
It
you.
usually goes right
but
here.
he looks the part. And of course, I pick him up and I've got nothing. I've got, barely got my keys with me. I'm lucky enough to have that. I'm old. This is old hat. I feel like I'm back on top of the horse, and the horse is kind of stable. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But back to the subject at hand before
Sure.
I blather on here. The why.
Mhm.
Friend, client comes to you and wants to start this venture, and you say you're going to ask him, is he right with his why? Does he even really know his why, or can he even he or she articulate their why? And you're saying that should be the starting point.
Yeah, and I will be honest, I can usually tell when a person comes in whether they've already figured that out, right? The excitement in their voice, their mannerisms, their body language. When someone comes in to start a business and they're talking to me about it in a way that it's excited. They've thought through things.
They're wearing it.
They're wearing it, exactly. That's their why. Some people will come in and say, I want to start this business. They don't really know what they want to do. They know they want to go down this path at some point in time. I look at that as my job in that point to help them find the path. Maybe the one they're thinking about isn't right because I don't see it in their face. I don't see the excitement. I don't feel it in their body language. I don't feel it in their presence, right? Like a person's presence says a lot. When a person walks into a room, if you are intuitive with people and can understand nonverbal communication, you can get so much from just watching a person walk into a room, understand so much about them. I see that with clients that come in. I can tell if this person gets it or doesn't, if this is something they're really excited about or they're just something they think they have to do. Then it's my job to dissect that and help them find the path.
Yeah, the why question, and I kind of just glossed right over that because I was looking at, you have to have some disciplines and, you have to have some financial training and a little bit of law, understanding of
Those are the
generality.
tactical things.
Exactly. And understanding that why. Why am I doing this?
Right.
Why can I no longer go into XYZ company and do this for that person anymore? Why? Why not? Why? Is something else driving you?
Yeah.
Would you say it's let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own journey. So there could be a financial component at the top.
Sure.
There could be a freedom component at the
Mhm.
top. There could be a plan to get away from said person
Yeah.
at the top. Everybody's motivation or spark might be different. Have you met people that have put financial goals at the very top of their why above everything else, and have they made it?
Yeah,
Do
I
you
have.
know folks like that?
Yes, absolutely. And they have made it. And again, the why is something that evolves as well, right? It's not something, your why is not static in my mind. It is an evolving, breathing, growing, living thing. As you know, if I started the business before I had kids, my kids wouldn't be part of the why. As you have kids, they become part of the why, or they are the why, right? Some people that start a business, it may just be for financial reasons. As they grow as a person, develop new relationships, maybe get married, maybe have kids, that changes and evolves. Look, part of my why when I started the firm was to basically prove people wrong. You know, people told me I was an idiot for leaving corporate America. Got paid really well, benefits, I got to travel all over the world on someone else's dime. I did what I wanted. I ran a department, and people are like, "You're crazy. Like, why would you do that?" And I'm like, "I'm going to prove all of you people wrong and show you what I can do." That was part of the why. That has changed now. It's still there. It's still part of it. But it's a very small percentage. So it evolves over time. Finance can definitely be the top one and be a driver, but I guarantee you over time that financial component of the why shifts.
I think all of us, while we're in corporate at some point, whether it's a small business you're working for, or a large company,
Mhm.
at some point in time, it could be an employer, it could be possibly a quote-unquote boss, it could be a manager, it could be upper management. Whatever your reason, you're always going to encounter people that are going to be caustic, or you're going to have an issue that's just not going to work in
Yes.
regards to your interaction with these
Mhm.
people. I think oftentimes that tends to be the motivator for a lot of people who at least initially enter the idea that maybe kind of somewhat possibly I should start my own thing because I hate
Mhm.
that person.
It's the catalyst.
It can be a catalyst.
Mhm.
And I'm not poo-pooing it and saying that's a bad catalyst, because we can't judge that. Everybody's circumstance is different. You
Mhm.
must find motivation where you find it.
Mhm.
But I would say it's probably a pretty reoccurring theme that you hear from people that, I just can't take that person. I can't take that structure. I can't take not being appreciated, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that can't be the sole reason you make the decision, because changing your life and finding your way, your means of subsistence through your own endeavors, compared to having an expected, predictable, and orderly paycheck, it's a big leap.
Huge leap.
It's a big leap.
Well, and I've met people like that, and I've helped people, just friends and colleagues of mine, and people I've just kind of advised, not from a legal perspective, just from life, right? I say that use that as the catalyst, right? That should not be your motivator to leave. That should be the catalyst,
Like a spark
that
almost.
ignites something, right?
Okay.
Now let me figure out what that thing is, what that why is. If you use a toxic environment as the motivator to start the entrepreneur journey, bad idea. It'll never work. I've never seen that work. If you use the toxic environment to be the catalyst to ignite something inside you, to ignite that fire, to find that why, that I've seen be very successful. That kind of mentality, that really thought process, and really that journey of self-discovery and understanding that this was the spark I needed to look at the world differently, that's when you see people find success.
So, in your story, in
Mhm.
your journey, you have created a law practice on some different kinds of principles
Sure.
and how you interact with your people,
Mhm.
how you interact with clients. Did you see the corporate structure you were in and you lived it? Did you take elements that you thought were good, but there were a lot of things about corporate you didn't like, and did you try to refine or change or abolish those things? Is that kind of what I'm
Yeah.
hearing from you?
I mean, I wanted my firm to be something completely different, right? I was in corporate America. I worked at a big law firm. I saw what was wrong in those environments. To me, what's most important in my law firm is the culture we're creating, the people, right? The people that work with me, phenomenal human beings. I love them all. I would go to bat for them. I would take a bullet for all of them. They're all in different spots in life. They're all in different paths in their career, different ages, but we've created something special. And to me, like that's what gets me excited every single day. And that will never change, no matter how many people we
That's
hire.
not part of your why.
That is the why of the firm. Like that culture, because I can teach you to be a lawyer. I can teach you how to be great, and I can show you the path to do what I've done, but I can't give you a personality. I can't give you empathy. I can't give you the ability to see the world like I do. So I have to be very selective in who we bring into this culture, because one bad apple can change it. And look, I want to grow to be 100 lawyers someday, but I will make sure that every single person in that firm believes in the same culture we have now, because my name's on the wall. And I take that responsibility very seriously. And that, in my mind, is how you create this legacy I'm trying to create.
Mm-hmm.
And I want the people that work with me to feel that same thing I feel, that excitement to come to work every day, to help our clients, to change lives, to really help solve problems in the world. And it's, I feel honored to get to do what I do. Like, I truly feel blessed to build what I've built and to be surrounded by the people I'm surrounded with every single day. Like, I truly feel blessed.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so important to me. So I looked at corporate America and the big law firm. I said, that's not what I want. This is what I want. And I'm just trying to create that now.
So that's a prime example of taking an environment you're in and where it wasn't working for you and not serving you. I guess even breaking it down to the more rudimentary way for me, I would also suggest to people that we've all been there at points in our life where we just don't like the environment. Mm-hmm. We may have a tough boss. We just don't like doing the same thing every day. And I would say that can be part of the reason that you want to move. I mean, it might be a spark, but it can't be the only reason.
It can't.
Am I right? And I think that we've all seen at times. And it's painful to watch a friend, especially, make the leap to entrepreneurship. And from what you know of that friend, you just knew that it wasn't the right. You couldn't say that, of course, because we want to give everybody the chance to do their thing. But if it's not thought out, if they don't have their why together, if they don't have their reasons together, and there's not an effective plan, it can be a very dangerous maneuver for a family's financial health, for a career. Yeah. And we've all seen that. I mean, all of us have seen ill-advised leaps into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I always say is every month we start at zero. So there's no guarantee of anything, right?
What a good lesson.
And that was the scariest thing to do, right? Like when I was used to getting a paycheck on the 15th and the 30th and getting bonuses every year. And then it's like I left and it's like, okay, where's the money coming from? And you have to figure it out. And you could have a great month, but guess what? Like we just had our best quarter ever in our law firm's history. Best month ever in March. Yesterday, April 1st, I woke up, we're at zero. How do we recreate that? And I've got to find the ways to recreate that. And as an entrepreneur, that is something it's very hard to get at first because your mentality is you're so used to just doing the job.
Well, let's talk about
the money comes.
Let's talk about the money. So someone comes to you and says, I want to do this venture, Rocco. I think I have my why together. I feel passionate about it. I love it. I think that's another intangible. Like, a lot of people don't like the career they're in. Sure. They don't like what they're doing. And I would say that part of someone's journey should be, in my humble thought process, is go into something that you dig, something that you like, something that's going to bring you happiness if done well. And I think that, because here's the thing, if you go into a field that you really don't feel connected to, or you go and you purchase a franchise that you really don't care about what you're actually selling, then it becomes the same prison corporate hell. Yeah. It's just that now you own it.
Exactly.
Because the environment really didn't change.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no passion found in what you're doing, which was probably no different than the corporate environment you just left.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot.
Oh, I do too.
People that have bought franchises that have done pretty well with them, but when you really vet it out and talk to them, they have no attachment to what they're actually doing. And it isn't like they're buying a business investment that doesn't take a lot of their personal interaction.
Yeah.
If you buy, truck tires and you invest in that business, but you're not engaged with it, then that could be a good investment.
Sure, absolutely.
But if you're buying a truck tire franchise and you dive into this, but in the end you're looking at your family and you go, I can't stand truck tires. I don't like trucks. Yeah. I don't even understand how to change oil. That might not be a good fit. Do you see what I mean? There's no passion there.
Yeah, and look, I hate to be cliche, but I feel like I always say that, and I always am cliche. So, but passion, you have to have that in life. Like I'm Italian. I'm a passionate person. If I didn't love what I did every day, I wouldn't be doing it. Like and maybe I'm one of the few lawyers out there that says that I actually love the practice of law. I love solving people's problems. I love sitting in a room with someone, hearing their idea, and then being along in that journey and seeing it succeed. That to me, like, is the most amazing thing, to watch someone that came to me or came to us at the beginning and said, I have this idea. I really want to do it. I need help figuring it out. And we helped them figure it out. And all of a sudden, 3 years down the road, they're making $5 million a year. Mm-hmm. Most amazing feeling in the world, seeing that success. But those people have the passion to do it. The people that don't have passion never really get anywhere, in my opinion. That's my perspective, right? Mm-hmm. I've been doing this about 20 years. I haven't seen people that lack passion for a business become wildly successful in that business. They may make enough to get by and to earn a living and to support their family, but there's no significant level of wealth or legacy created from that.
Passion's everything. I think back to I really enjoyed corporate sales. I can't tell you that I was passionate about whatever widget I was selling for whatever firm, but I really enjoyed the activity of sales and the people. Just love being around people and engaging with people. But when I made the decision to get into the guitar business, I had all the trepidation and the thoughts of, I had a new baby at the time and new wife, new baby, new job, new house, all that stuff. And what got me through the early years was just the incredible amount of passion I had toward that instrument. Yeah. The nuances, the materials, how it was constructed, seeing people satisfied with me presenting an instrument to them. And initially, I was just a horse trader. I was just buying here and selling here, but it was getting the right person, the right guitar, and being that conduit. Yeah. I just had this incredible drive, almost to the point where people would meet me and they'd say I was kind of wearing it, my passion for guitars. And I think that passion, in my unique story, Rocco, kind of got me through the tough years, the early years where I had self-doubt about making enough money, or is this working? Will the internet last 3 years, or will this be a fad?
I think you're okay.
Yeah, I think I'm okay. but in the beginning, all of those things were doubts that I had. But that overdriving passion I had for the guitar, and then believe me, I understand it was a unique circumstance, and not everybody's going to find that element of passion in the product they ultimately market if they become an entrepreneur. Yeah. For me, I got very lucky in that regard. But I will tell you, I will never discount an entrepreneur's passion for their livelihood or the product they sell, because I've had all kind of sales pitches thrown on me over the years for everything. And I don't dismiss that. I don't quote unquote poo-poo that, because I remember having the passion for the instrument and how that got me through and over my initial apprehension of taking this journey. It was so vital. And the passion lasted for the entire 15 years there. It was the love of that instrument, and I could wear it. Yeah. And that, whether it was unique, maybe I just hit it right. I don't know. But I feel if you can find a way to marry your vocation with your passion, that's the closest thing I could possibly see to happiness.
It's bliss. It really is. Yeah, absolutely. But let me take a U-turn. Okay. Something you said, self-doubt. This is a question I have for you. Do you think that ever goes away as an entrepreneur?
No, I don't think, regardless of the success level you have, regardless of the level of confidence you have in doing your job, having more confidence can help offset self-doubt when it arises. But at the same time, it's always going to be there. Yeah. And I think I sum that up to the way we are constructed as human beings and in the society of us interacting. What is the news? The news is bad news. Yeah. There's no show you're going to watch called The Good News, and they're just going to show you good news for 30 minutes. That's not how we operate as humans. So self-doubt will always creep in because I think we put it on each other.
Sure. But here's what I say about self-doubt, and I agree with you. It doesn't go away. I believe if you're not doubting yourself on a consistent basis, you're not working hard enough to grow.
You can also call that self-examination.
Self-examination, sure, but I
doubt
doubt
is
myself
there.
every day.
I do as well.
Every single day.
Well, you know what? I think that's also provides me, when I had those little bits, it provides me a little bit of a heightened awareness
Yeah.
that I got to get on my game. Like coming down here
Yes.
for this, before I picked you up this morning,
Yeah.
I was so happy and elated to be doing this, but there was always that little bit of, wow, I remember that first couple shows I did with Frank Sparks, and I really, really stumbled through some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And am I going to do this again? I mean, you're
Yeah.
always, but again, you know, I need that because it
Yes.
holds me accountable.
That's exactly, like, I love the fact that I do that I doubt myself every day, because it makes me want to get better. It makes me want to learn more, to grow more, to be more, to do more, because if I didn't doubt myself, then I think I had figured everything out.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know a lot of people like that like they're the most confident, and that's awesome. You're confident and they never doubt themselves, and then they wonder why they get hit in the face with a train. They don't see things coming because they just thought they knew it all. And to me, I'm 44 years old. I've been doing this for 20 years. What I've learned is there are so many things I still don't know. Like, the older I get, the more I realize how little I know.
No
And it's
question about
my
that.
job every single day to try and learn as much and grow as much. And I think that's something entrepreneurs need to understand, that it is a constant journey of growth and doubt. And that's just what the process is, and being okay with that.
100%. And friends, you're listening to The Entrepreneur Life with Rocco Cozza and Eric McKenna. We're going to be on Saturdays from 10:30 to 12:30. That's 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Joined, of course, with Matt Durzik. We want to encourage, at this point in time, anyone out there, any questions on what we're doing, what the heck we're doing. We'll do our best to explain it to you, but we're still figuring it out ourselves. But the phone numbers to reach us are 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888. 1888, excuse me. Most powerful numbers in all of Beaver County, I might add, by the way. As Matt Durzik gives me the eye roll over there.
Dug that one back out.
I did dig that out of my archives. Yes. 724-8.
Should I write that one down?
Yes, 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888. The most powerful numbers in Beaver County. But we encourage you to call in any questions. If you just want to yell at us,
Sure.
you can yell at us too. I was pretty much used to that as well too on occasion.
That
But we're
is true.
talking entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial tendencies,
Yeah.
the concept of possibly setting out on your own and starting your own vocational journey.
Yeah.
How about that? You know,
The fears of it.
the fears. We're talking it all, and this show will be dedicated to everything involved with that. Not so much the ultimate mechanics, although we might get into some of that stuff in
Sure.
LLCs and all that down the line. But we really are talking about the decision-making process. And at least for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about the decision-making process, books that have helped us,
Yeah.
books that we know have helped others,
Yes.
speakers, finding motivation.
Mhm.
A discussion on, can you actually motivate somebody?
We've
You know,
had that
because
before.
Rocco and I have different opinions of that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, in the end, you're looking to look within and determining whether or not you want to take that trip, that journey. Because journey is a word that gets overused, I
Mhm.
think, in podcasters especially. But in essence, it really is a journey.
Mhm.
But I am the kind of person that can't say, well, this is my business journey, and over here is my life journey. This was my musician's journey. I look at my existence here as my journey, and there's elements within that journey, but everything has to be somewhat in congruence. And I think that if I can suggest someone considering entrepreneurship to something to take in mind beyond the why,
Mhm.
understand that without congruence and having the understanding that this venture you're going into needs to fit in nicely with your life. That may include family. It may include a pet.
Sure.
It may include your schedule. You have to have congruence in your life, and that life is really what the journey is.
Life is the journey.
Do you feel that way?
Yeah, 100%. I hate to say, oh, this is a business entrepreneurial journey, or this is this. It's life is a journey, and there's multiple pieces to that, and that's. I mean, honestly, like that's what I love about this stuff. Like I love talking about this stuff because again, to your point earlier, there's so much negativity in the world, right? Bad news on everywhere. Like, I love the fact that we can sit here and talk about positive things and the journey of finding happiness in life and finding success.
100%. And friends, as we're talking about success, motivation, all that good stuff, this is The Entrepreneur Life with Rocco Cozza and Eric McKenna. And you're listening to 95.7 FM and 99.3 FM, as well as WBVP 1230 and 1460 WMBA. Of course, this is presented by St. Barnabas and streaming live on BeaverCountyRadio.com. We'll be right back. I know. It's like they're all made by hand. It's all
0.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA.
All right, we're back. Starting to get my sea legs over here. Rocco Cozza, I'm Eric McKenna, Matt Dursick. The Entrepreneur Life. Mm-hmm. So much to talk about. And again, the number to reach us is 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888. This show will absolutely have a little bit of a variety show bent. You know, it's possible. Yeah. And toward the end of the show, I do want to ask Matt about the Penguins. Who better than ask Matt Dursick? Because I'm just curious. Because, Matt, what you don't know is since I've left this station prior in 2019, all through the pandemic and all that stuff, I kind of became a hockey fan.
I've noticed.
Yeah, and I'm really like paying attention. You know, so I haven't had a chance to hear Matt's thoughts, deep thoughts anyways, on hockey in a while. So it'll be a joy to refer to you to that, sir.
I appreciate
during
that.
Hockey season. I don't know of anyone more astute in my sphere to talk hockey with you, but again, Matt will be with us, and we'll be here from 10:30 to 12:30 on Saturdays as we explore just about everything involved with not only being an entrepreneur, but right now in these early shows, we're going to drill down and we're going to talk about the process of deciding whether or not it is for you.
Yeah.
I think that's, again, so important. And that's the essence when we were talking about, and Rocco and I derived this show over a conversation. We looked at each other one day talking about entrepreneurship and the decision-making process, and we just said, why does nobody teach this stuff?
Yeah, right.
Why aren't there, and maybe there are college courses about entrepreneurship. I would hope so. I'm not aware of any, but I'm sure they might touch on this stuff. But,
Yeah.
without getting too esoteric, it really does come down to the decision-making process. And let's face it, decision-making in general is not taught in any school system anywhere,
No,
which,
not at all.
So, but the idea of understanding the risks involved and are you a risk taker? Are you predisposed? And I don't mean gambling on the Steelers and Browns on Sunday. That's not what I'm talking about. There may be a tell in there somewhere, your tolerance for risk, but we can do, and probably next week we're going to talk about risk.
Yeah.
As probably our show number 2. We'll talk in detail on that, but all things that need to be considered before you make that that step. And I will tell you, it's a serious matter in a lot of ways, because there have been many folks that have gone into financial ruin because of a bad decision right out of the gate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's where the planning comes in, right? I'm not let me be transparent. I'm not a huge planner. I believe in the ready, fire, aim theory. You do a little bit of planning, you take the shot, and you adjust. And that's kind of how I live my life.
I just got that now.
Yeah, but that's really. But again, I think the people that go into financial ruin, they have an unjustified expectation of success. They don't understand actually what it's going to take, and they overestimate the chance of success and underestimate the chance of failure. That's the biggest thing I've seen.
Why do you think that is?
Overconfidence, cockiness. I could list 1,000 things.
The internet making it appear too easy?
Well, yes.
Oh, we're going to do plenty of shows on the internet.
I mean,
don't worry.
The whole social media
delusion.
Look at me. I'm a 22-year-old kid day trading, driving Lamborghinis, when really they're just making money by you paying to be part of their Discord or their chat room. That's where the money's coming from. Like, there is so much fake stuff out there that give people these unreasonable expectations of what it's actually like in the real world. It takes work. Like, that's what makes me so frustrated when I see this stuff. Because I have kids, right? My son's 20. He's in college. I have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old daughter. They see things. I mean, my 8-year-old shouldn't be on social media, obviously, nor should my 12-year-old yet. But, Ellie, if you're listening, you should probably know I'm watching. But they set these unreasonable expectations for these kids to think that they can just do this stuff. And yet, there are things these young entrepreneurs can do, but it takes so much work. Yeah. They think, I can start a YouTube channel and make $1 million. It's like, okay, you can, but you've got to make 1,000 videos before someone sees one, and then hope someone sees one and goes viral. And there's so much stuff, and it's the internet and social media is an amazing tools, but they've also created these unreasonable expectations that have caused that financial ruin you're talking about in so many people, and that's the unfortunate thing with it.
I had a conversation with a young man that he made a good argument. He said, Mr. McKenna, you took a very unconventional path in your career. And I said, I did. I got very lucky. I was able to connect with some rather accomplished musicians. Things just kind of worked out, but that was a really stroke of luck. Just as being a good high school baseball player and going to the minors and finding a way to the major leagues. It could happen.
Yeah.
But that is a 1 in 300,000, 200,000 chance, maybe, right? Or more, maybe, I don't know. The same thing with playing basketball. You could be great, but the path of making a career out of it and hitting it, quote unquote, big is very slim. And I take that analogy and I place that to the internet influencer or the internet hitting it big on the internet in regards to social media and all that stuff. Yes, it could happen. There are kids that are opening presents and recording videos. Their parents are, and they're making money. There are some anomalies. There are. I think there was a book written, Black Swan, right? There are always examples of where you can hit it big. You could buy a lottery ticket tomorrow and hit it big. Could happen. Odds are likely, though, and I'm about the big odds, the big picture stuff. The reasonable chances of that happening is slim. And That's where I think there's a fallacy in social media, which we will definitely. There will be multiple shows just on social
We're going to
media.
get deep in that rabbit hole.
All right, friends, this is The Entrepreneur Life with Rocco Cozza and Eric McKenna, and, of course, our adopted co-host, Matt Durzik. You're listening to 95.7 and 99.3 FM, as well as 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA, presented by St. Barnabas and streaming live on BeaverCountyRadio.com. And we will be back.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew with Washington. Ukraine's president has warned residents of northern Ukraine to be careful about shelling and landmines as Russian troops retreat from the area.
In his late-night video address to the nation, he said the Russians were mining the whole territory. They're mining homes, mining equipment, even the bodies of people who were killed. The president urged residents to hold on before getting back to normal, allowing time for mines to be cleared and for the danger of shelling to pass. Zelensky warned of difficult battles ahead as the Russians redeploy troops in eastern Ukraine. After speaking to French President Emmanuel Macron, he mentioned Europe's responsibility to do something about Mariupol. The whole world should respond to this humanitarian catastrophe. I'm Karen Chamas.
Jason Walker reports Russia's invasion of Ukraine has become a drain on its own military.
Now there's word Moscow may be dealing with a brain drain. It appears Russian tech workers are fleeing the country, seeking safer and more secure professional lands. One estimate says 70,000 computer specialists have bolted since Russia invaded Ukraine, and more likely to follow. The exodus causing Vladimir Putin to take notice. He's now approved legislation to eliminate income taxes between now and 2024 for those who work for major information technology firms.
President Biden's approval rating remains low this week.
Rasmussen Report's daily presidential tracking poll shows that 40% of likely U.S. voters approve of President Biden's job performance, 58% disapprove. The latest figures include 21% who strongly approve of the job Mr. Biden is doing and 48% who strongly disapprove. That gives him a presidential approval index rating of negative 27. At this point in his presidency, Donald Trump had an approval rating of 47%, 7% higher than Mr. Biden. Bernie Bennett reporting.
More of these stories from townhall.com.
I'm about to compare a pepper shaker to a cash-out refinance. Hang with me. You know when you're at a restaurant and they ask, would you like some fresh ground pepper? And then they crank that giant tube, but almost nothing comes out? For me, only a certain amount of time is socially acceptable to wait. I know that getting that pepper out might make my life better, but it just seems too impossible. And that's what we hear people say about the cash-out refinance. People realize that the value of their home has gone up like hot pepper the last few years, leaving all this extra money sitting inside their home. But is it too hard to get out? It's Ryan from United Faith Mortgage. If you're interested in cashing out the extra pepper in your home, we're good at doing all the work while you just sit back and relax. And often, your mortgage payment and years in the loan will stay the same. If you'd like to hear about your options,
we are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Melville Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender. Licensed in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, North Dakota, South Dakota, or Utah.
Correspondent Ben Thomas says Alaska Airlines has been canceling some flights along the West Coast.
Contract negotiations between Alaska Airlines and its pilots have been going on for nearly 3 years and are now at an impasse. So pilots have been picketing.
This is an informational picketing.
Alaska Airlines Captain Lisa Booker.
We're out here to send a strong message to our management through this picketing that it is time for a new contract.
The Airline Pilots Association says Alaska Airlines did not adequately prepare for a return to air travel after the coronavirus pandemic and didn't take the necessary steps to retain or attract pilots as demand bounced back.
They may not want to say that, but they're having staffing issues. We've had several pilots leave for other airlines.
Captain Steve Van Meter is an Alaska Airlines pilot.
Our main focus is actually getting job protections, quality of life issues, and better scheduling rules.
I'm Ben Thomas.
Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. A shattered cockpit windshield rattles nerves on a Delta Airlines flight.
The pilots on a Delta flight from Salt Lake City to Washington, D.C. decided to bring their jet down in Denver after the cockpit windshield shattered above 30,000 feet. The crew repeatedly told the nearly 200 passengers to remain calm until they landed. A photo of the windshield taken by a passenger shows the glass was lined with cracks but did not fall from the frame. Jetliner windshields have layers of glass that can be 2 inches thick. Delta confirmed the windshield crack and said the crew diverted the jet out of an abundance of caution. Keith Peters reporting.
Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo has filed a lawsuit against the state's Ethics Commission. It's the latest move in an ongoing dispute over his earnings from a book about his efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic. Cuomo accuses the Joint Commission on Public Ethics of violating his constitutional rights. You'll find more of these stories at townhall.com.
74 years into this, and we're still making waves, figuratively in your community, and literally in the air. Check out the newest member of the Beaver County Radio family, the all-new 95.7 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, along with 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA.
You know, just hearing that intro music, it's like, wow.
Gets me excited.
Back, you know? Friends, you're listening to The Entrepreneur Life with Rocco Cozza and yours truly, Eric McKenna. Every Saturday from 10:30 to 12:30 here on WBVP. And, of course, joined by our adopted co-host and producer extraordinaire, Mr. Matt Durzik. And I would be neglectful if I didn't remind you that Matt hosts AM Beaver County Monday through Friday, right here on Beaver County Radio. And it's 6:30 to 9. Am I right, Matt?
That's correct.
That's right. And Matt tackles all kinds of stuff and has been doing this for how many years now?
About five and a half.
AM Beaver County for 5.5 years.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It's really impressive.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it is. And, again, I know we're beating a dead horse, but I'm so thrilled that Matt was able to produce this show for us. It was part of our stipulation to do it, that we could have Matt. Because one thing I recognized right away, Rocco, and I've told you this, but when I was on the air prior, it took a good 6-8 months to get sea legs. And then you realize once in a while, like, you know, when you're only out here by yourself without a co-host and you are a one-man show, you know, it's a different kind of vibe and animal.
Oh,
and some days you're on and some days you're not. And Matt actually was so integral to me wanting to do this gig. And like I said, he became an intrinsic part of the show, probably more than he wanted to. I would lean on him a little more than he wanted to, but just hearing your voice, it's good to be back, buddy.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure. Okay, we're entering the final half hour, and we'll do one more segment after the next break. But friends, it's 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888. The blowtorch, the most powerful numbers in all of Beaver County. We are taking calls in regards to your thoughts on entrepreneurship. Have you ever thought about it? Are you an entrepreneur and you got a unique story in how you made that decision? Mm-hmm. Any question that you have in regards to finding that motivation or a comment, we encourage the phone calls. And like I said, on the second half of every show, we're going to open up the phone lines as well for questions. And again, thank you for giving us a small portion of your Saturday. Yeah, it means a lot. Rocco is a extremely busy man, so you doing this, you know, carving out a portion of your Saturdays. I'm surprised you were able to do that with your schedule.
This is a treat. It's my pleasure, man.
All right.
As we were coming up, I said this is something I want to do for me. Right, just I have so much fun these conversations.
Right
like,
on.
When we do those podcasts, like I look forward to that. We just have those 3-4 hour conversations of just I don't get to talk about this stuff in this depth on a consistent basis. You know, I'm going from meeting to meeting and client to client and person to person just to have these conversations. Like I love it, and this is a true honor to be here, and I'm excited. I will make time for this every week, unless I'm on vacation, which doesn't happen very often.
We'll make sure he'll call in.
I will call in for those two. I will absolutely do that if that is an option.
You can find Rocco Cozza everywhere: social media, Facebook, Instagram, Google. If you can't find him on Google, you're not looking. But you can go to cozzalaw.com and you can see Rocco, the kind of work that they do.
Yeah.
You can find me, friends, at my new website, ericmckenna.com.
Fantastic.
I'm a realtor with Realty Connect. Thank you so much. And, of course, the podcast is the Eric McKenna Project. Everything in my life, the podcast, Boogie Street Guitars, and, of course, my realtor practice, all of it now is at one spot, and that's ericmckenna.com. You can also connect with me as well on Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. It's really cool to look at the streaming capabilities of the station now and streaming shows on beavercountyradio.com. And just, Matt and I used to set up archaic little cameras here when we did the show last time. We were streaming, and some days it worked, and some days it didn't work, and sometimes the cameras didn't fall over, and sometimes the cameras did fall over. But they got a real good operation going on.
Yeah, I like
Rocco.
it.
This is
good.
like, they've got it figured out. So that's kind of not having to bring cameras in and do all that stuff. It's going to make it a lot easier. But before we end up, we close this out here today, I do want to talk a little bit about another component of entrepreneurship, and I want to talk about the financial component. And hopefully, again, we're going to carry that over into next week if we don't finish it out. But I am getting the high sign, which means we have a phone call. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right.
Okay.
Good morning. You're on the Entrepreneur Life.
Gentlemen, Dave Bishop calling. How are you guys doing today?
Diamond Dave Bishop from Big Bang Comics and Collectibles. Talk about entrepreneurs. You were the topic of conversation earlier today
I heard
before
about
we went
you.
on air.
Well, you and I have had many of these conversations, and I've been listening to the whole show so far today, and it just brings back a lot of memories of talks we've had over the years.
Yes, so I have Dave on the spot, and I'm going to give this plug because this is a guy. If you ever thought of the idea of a serial entrepreneur, that's Dave Bishop. Dave was in the pinball business. That's when I was in the guitar business. He was in the pinball business. Pittsburgh Pinball was the name of the company.
Fantastic.
And we connected in that regard, and the journeys were very similar. And then I went into real estate, and I think Dave was the year 2009 that you opened Big Bang Comics and Collectibles in Swickley?
Actually, pretty close. 2010 was the year we officially opened down here.
So 12 years now.
That's awesome.
Talk about an entrepreneur.
That's awesome.
So you hear Rocco and I talking here. A lot of this has got to be just resonating with you completely.
Oh yes, yeah. I've gotten several chuckles because I just remember the journey, as you like to call it.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And that's where, it's funny that Dave was also an internet entrepreneur like I was, meaning that we marketed our products when the internet was young.
Yeah.
From the late 90s into the early 2000s and beyond, before social media. Because I think people today don't even really think about the mechanics of the internet, Dave. They're thinking about social media, right? That's the dominant thing.
Sure.
Before social media, the internet was a thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Internet commerce was a thing, and Dave was marketing pinball machines. Dave would refurbish them and restore them, and we were both marketing on eBay and a bunch of other sites and so forth. But again, part of the journey, Dave, was we found commonality in each other, and I think that was so vital to start, because we were in this uncharted territory of the interwebs, right? And we're on this entrepreneur,
absolutely.
and we were able to bounce. It's another part of the journey for me. Part of my story is having Dave, because you need to have someone to either be frustrated with, to share frustrations or also share successes. And Dave, would you not say that was an amazing time?
Absolutely. You need to have someone that you can bounce ideas off that will actually look at you and say, no, that's not a real good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of times, people, especially in your inner circle you want to talk to, they're going to be gung-ho about, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. And on the background, they're leaving going, he's out of his mind. I can't. The guy at the comic book store at the worst possible economic downturn this country's ever had.
I never said that to you.
No, you never said that. But I did have my naysayers when I said, I'm going to open a comic book store.
Yeah, but I mean, here you are, living testament, 12 plus years in. I mean,
that's incredible.
And that's how I was mentioning the Rocco on the way down here. I go, you would never have thought it. But again, and there's so many interesting topics as we move from week to week on this show. But tenacity is one that we will get to. And I think of like the Dave Bishop story with some of Dave's health challenges coupled with just the success, the amount of success that he willed it to happen.
Yeah.
And then doing what everybody pretty much told him not to do was start what he believed, the belief structure and the tenacity that he has. I don't know, to be honest with you, in my sphere, I don't know another entrepreneur, Rocco, that's got that kind of tenacity. He willed it to happen.
And that's what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs, right? Sometimes you just have to push through the brick wall. And back to the point you were talking about earlier about how you had each other, like that's something we didn't talk about yet. But
We'll
I think
get there.
Important is entrepreneurship is a lonely road. It is a very lonely road when you're an entrepreneur. You have those relationships of mentorship, of just being able to have someone outside of your immediate circle to bounce ideas off of and to talk about the struggles are so important. That's helped me tremendously.
Okay, so Dave, I'm going to share this story. If I put you on the spot, I apologize. But what he just said is so important. I remember leaving corporate America in, I guess it was January of 2000, and selling guitars out of my house on the interwebs. And the first year before I actually met Dave, I felt like I was on a complete island. There was no rule book to what I was doing. There was no game plan. There was no business plan I could share or steal. There was nothing.
Right.
And I said to myself, and the self-doubt would creep in, like, am I out of my mind? I left a 6-figure job and it's a sales thing doing this. And what am I doing? When I met Dave, he had done the same thing.
Yep.
And even more lucrative for him. And at that time, he was the Y2K stuff. He was an IT guy, right? A programmer.
Yep.
And he had done and took the pinball thing full time, and also was doing some contract work, if I remember correctly, Dave. But we were able to share the story and share similar experiences where I never thought I would find that person, because oftentimes you think no one can be going through what I'm going through. It's only unique to me. Right. We all do that.
Yeah, because we're egocentric.
But I found Dave in regard. Thank you. Yeah. I found Dave, and the journeys were same, weren't they?
Absolutely. Hey, I am going to have to run because I am at work, and
he has customers. So. Commerce and capitalism. We'll talk to you soon, buddy. Thanks so much.
Take care. Thanks for calling.
I'll talk to you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Diamond Dave. Bye.
Yeah, but that to his point, I mean, that's something that I would stress. Like, it's lonely, right? I mean, being an entrepreneur, running a business, running your own company, like, even for me, like, I have amazing people I work with, but there are still many issues and problems and stresses that they know nothing about, because I would never want to burden them with that. And it's a lonely process, and having those people, and that's why I have certain people like you, other people in my life that I can have these conversations with to talk about the struggles and the challenges to help me work through it in my head. That is, if not the most critical thing you need as an entrepreneur, it's one of the most critical.
I think it's easy to assume that you're going through something that's so unique that no one else could have a similar circumstance or haven't been it before. And I mean, that's part of the human experience to be so myopic in a viewpoint.
Yes.
But he was a person doing something similar in a similar era, facing similar struggles, whether it was shipping struggle or getting paid and other obstacles I was facing. Like, wow, here's another person doing this.
Yeah.
And just one thing about Dave was he had extremely high ethics, and he still does. He operates from a position of integrity.
Yeah, that's important.
And I saw that because I was doing the same thing in the guitar end, saying, wow, I know my competition isn't being as crazy about customer service as I am. Is this too labor intensive? Is this not going to serve me? Am I not going to make any money here? But I realized by seeing someone else that was so fanatical about customer service, which he was when he ran Pittsburgh Pinball, like I said, wow, he cares that much. I can care that much.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's an example of it working for someone. It's going to work for me too.
Yes.
Just having that commonality.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it's easier today with entrepreneurs because I think more people are trying it. Would you say?
But I agree but disagree, because I think people are trying it, but you actually have to care. Like, some people pretend they care and say that we care. Everybody says we care about our customers, right?
Right.
But do you actually care? Because that is a
the
different
proof there.
feeling, right? Like, it's a feeling you have inside. Like, do you have that emotional connection with a client where when they're going through a struggle, you feel it too? That means you care. I can say I care all I want, but if I don't think about them when they're struggling, I really don't care. So I think there are people that say it, there are a lot fewer people who actually do care.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. It's. I
So
see.
we
it
do
in-
agree.
I see it in my field a lot in real estate agents.
Yes.
A lot of fantastic ones out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, but I think the great ones really understand the essence of client service and client advocacy. That's a whole nother subject. We have plenty of weeks to get there. Friends, the Entrepreneur Life on Beaver County Radio, 95.7 and 99.3, along with WBVP 1230 and WMBA 1460. We'll be right back.
If you are the parent or grandparent of a 4-year-old, you might already be asking yourself some questions about early childhood education. Well, listen up, because this is a very important announcement. The Western Beaver and Blackhawk school districts are participants in the Pennsylvania Pre-K Counts program and are now accepting applications for the upcoming school year. This completely free program for those who qualify features a full-day session where children are taught by highly qualified, certified teachers in a variety of developmentally appropriate areas, including language, literacy, math, creative arts, personal and social interactions, physical development, health and science, and social studies. Transportation is provided for Western Beaver and Blackhawk residents. This might be the answer you have been looking for. Call 724-643-9310, extension 4018, or click westernbeaver.org and download an application in the Forms tab. Western Beaver and Blackhawk school districts and Pennsylvania Pre-K Counts. Education starts here.
Hi, folks. I'm with our good friend John Diagardi from Roe Monument. John, you were telling me earlier that people really should not rush into choosing a memorial for their loved one. Now, why is that?
We found that families need to take ample time to grieve first. Grief is not something that we get over, but rather something that we learn to live with. So the length of time to grieve varies from person to person.
You mentioned that the monument can't be placed right away.
That's right. There are certain things that need to take place before a monument can be installed. So it's really worth taking time to think about how to plan and design a memorial that truly reflects a person's life. It's actually a healing activity that helps to alleviate grief.
John, this makes a lot of sense.
It does, and when the time is right to proceed, not only can Roe Monument help families choose and design their memorial, we can help them save as much as 50% by eliminating the middleman.
Thank you, John. Folks, you can learn more simply by visiting romemonuments.com.
We've got so much to say that we need 4 radio stations. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and our newest edition, 95.7 FM.
Okay, we're back. The Entrepreneur Life with Rocco Cozza and Eric McKenna. Rocco is a business attorney, speaker, author. I could just keep going on and on. I'm just a realtor and a podcaster. Whoop-de-doo. I don't know why I'm even
just a
standing
normal
next to this
dude.
guy. Normal dude. Thank you so much for giving us a small part of your Saturday. The purpose of this show, friends, is to talk about entrepreneurship and the thought process that goes into deciding to do it, taking the first steps, finding commonality, finding your thing, examining yourself to see if you do indeed have the passion for the venture you're going to do. So much to talk about, and just a niche area that Rocco and I decided, hey, we don't hear anyone else really talking about this stuff. And, you know, whether it's the social media culture or the internet culture, the last 30 years, certainly I would assume more entrepreneurs through the web have started. And I know, both of us have benefited from the web in different ways. I was a pure internet entrepreneur in 99. So I get it. And yet you don't, we all talk about the ending results. You go to Instagram and you see somebody throwing money up. And you familiar with Grant Cardone?
Yeah, I am.
I firmly believe he is very successful. I believe that his story, is authentic, and he is who he portrays to be. But I think Grant Cardone on Instagram and all the bravado and throwing the money into Lear jets and all that stuff, I think is emulated by a lot of people that are kind of fraudsters that aren't really
I think
worth the kind of money.
Do what he does.
They're more concentrating on image than
Yeah, and look,
Authenticity.
I've read all of Cardone's books. I mean, he's got some really
10X.
good. He's got some good principles, and part of why he does what he does is for the attention. He's like, I want to 10X what I do on social media just to get the attention. The fact that we're sitting here talking about him on a radio show in Beaver County, I mean, he it's working.
Yeah.
But yes, there are people that are trying to do what he's done or he's doing, but don't have the knowledge or the expertise or the success that he has, but are pretending like they do. That's different. That's inauthentic. Like, authenticity is a huge thing.
And we're going to talk about that. But I will also tell you that part of the reason Rocco and I wanted to do this show is because we do think through a lot of the garbage, I should say, that does permeate social media, trying to basically lure people out of their money, what I deem to be get rich quick schemes. You know, there's a lot of that out there.
Absolutely.
To basically reemphasize to people, look, there's a lot of hard work, and you cannot dismiss that. And it's got to be part of your understanding of where you're headed. But it also is going to require a good plan, and it's going to require passion and you buying into what the heck you're going to go do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that gets missed a lot. Like,
We're talking about a lot of the stuff that's in my book. You know that, right?
Yes, and we're going to. That was going to do a whole episode on your book, but let's talk. But
we could leave that for another episode. But you're right. Like,
no. We want to talk about at least the name of the book and encourage folks to go get it. It's a fantastic book.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. So talk about your book.
Well, it's called the.
I served it up on a platter, Matt. And he just went right over it.
Listen, man. So it's called The Alpha Way.
Yep.
And it's really about. It's the 5 keys, I think, to unlocking success. It was really a book that I was writing to my 25-year-old self. It's like, hey, I'm halfway up the mountain that I believe is success or having a successful life. These are the things that got me here. And if I would have known them sooner, I'd probably be a lot farther along in life. So I was literally, as I wrote the book, I was writing it to my 25-year-old self. And Alpha really stands for 5 things: attitude, leadership, passion, hard work, and accountability. And we talked about passion, and we can get into all these other topics a different day. But to me, you have to have passion. And the hard work is the other piece, right? That's going back to the Instagram and social media. Like, people need to understand being an entrepreneur is extremely difficult. Or hard, excuse me. Not necessarily difficult, but hard. It just takes hard work and effort. It's 24/7. It's not something that you can, at 5 o'clock, just, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, no, I don't turn my brain off. I don't get the opportunity to. I've chosen that path, though. And I think a lot of people have this misconception that, I can work a couple hours a day, make millions of dollars, and then just live this life. And these people talk about all this passive income, but they're also creating content 12, 14 hours a day. That's part of the work. They may not actually be doing stuff with clients or the intellectual stuff, but they're also creating videos and content and podcasts literally 16 hours a day. That's work that people need to understand. There's other things that go into being an entrepreneur, not just put a couple things in place, automate it, and you make a bunch of money. It's not how it works.
100%. And I think there's a delusion out there, and I think it's kind of driven primarily by TikTok and Instagram. Facebook to a degree too. Yeah, no, I'm not poo-pooing any of this stuff. I'm just saying that there can be, and it's exciting when you see a young person hit it big.
Yeah.
They found a unique niche and they went for it. And we're not knocking the drive to do it.
Not at all.
We're just saying that it does, unfortunately, at times create an illusion of ease. And what I'm seeing, unfortunately, is some folks expecting things in life just to happen for them because they're getting their frame of reference from what they see on their phone.
Yeah.
And that's not reality.
And
I can get Rocco really wound up over
You're
here.
winding me up.
If I keep talking about social, the social media illusion.
Listen, you're twisted. I'm like,
we got plenty of weeks ahead, my friend. This has been great. This has been great. And Matt, again, thanks for being at the Realm here. This has been way better than I thought it was going to be. And we came in with a plan. It might not have sounded like it, but we did come in here with a plan.
Sure, I have my notebook.
That's right. And we are going to encourage our guests. The numbers are always 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888. The most powerful numbers in Beaver County. And we're going to be 10:30 to 12:30 every Saturday. And Rocco's committed. He's going to even if he's on the beach, he's going to call in.
Call in 100%.
Yeah, and he'll rub it in. That
I will definitely
drinking margaritas and all.
Orange juice.
Orange
morning.
Orange juice in the morning. That's going to do it, friends.
What do they call those mimosas?
Mimosas. There
Also
you go.
true.
Matt, thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Rocco, thank you. And again, I'll be back next Saturday at 10:30 again with The Entrepreneur Life with Rocco Cozza and Eric McKenna. You are listening to 95.7 and 99.3 FM, as well as 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA, presented by St. Barnabas and streaming live on BeaverCountyRadio.com. Until next Saturday, be good to yourself, and God bless.
Thanks for listening to The Entrepreneur Life with attorney and author Rocco Cozza, along with realtor and podcaster Eric McKenna. Content and sponsorship have been provided by Rocco Cozza and Eric McKenna. Tune in next Saturday at 10:30 a.m. for another edition of The Entrepreneur Life.